Hello! This video from the Computer Department Incorporated will go over each step involved in setting up locations in DLS Financials. When you first get logged into DLS, you will arrive at the main menu with the Accounts tab selected. The top of the screen you will see your organization name with the name of the data file below it. On the far right you could see two different icons. The top one indicates that you have the DLSOnline module and the green frame around it. It may take a few seconds to turn green, but if it stays on red, it means that there is a problem with the connection to DLSOnline that will prevent you from uploading the data. To figure out which end the problem is at, check to see if you can get onto the internet. If you can, then the issue is with our DLSOnline server, and we request that you contact us if that happens. The second possible icon is the Docs module. This means that the functions for attaching documents and scheduling transactions are available in this version. Each menu item is a tab on the main form, so you will need to click on the Locations tab to bring up the location form. The list will show all the current locations contained in your data. When you first arrive in this form, only a few buttons are available to you until you click on one of the locations. At the top of the list, you will see the Find field, which is used to filter the list down to the location that you want to work in. Simply type in a series of characters that you know are in the location: name, address, city, or the location code. We suggest that you avoid some words that could be abbreviated like Saint, Street, or Avenue, as you may only get a partial list. It is better to avoid words like Saint, which could have been entered as ST, with or without a period. Same with the word street, which uses those same abbreviations. The fastest way to find something is to use a name that can't be abbreviated like John, Mary, or Paul without their title. Once you find your location, then click on the location record to turn on all the buttons. The delete button is only seen if you have permission to delete, which will remove the location from the system if there are no accounts that are connected to it. Once a location has an account, if will prevent it from being closed. You need to move all the accounts from the location in order to delete it. The Add button and the Edit button will open the location form for you to add a new location or edit the location record. If your plan is to edit a location record, then simply double-click on the record you wish to edit. When you click on the Add or Edit button, one of two screens will come up. If your accounting interface is connected to your accounting system's vendor table, you will see the accounting's vendor list, and you can select the location from the list to pre-fill the location's information from the accounting system before opening it in Add mode. The location form has 5 tabs of information for you to fill in. If you selected a location from the accounting system, the fields that were from the accounting system will be disabled and cannot be changed. Otherwise, all the fields that are enabled are controlled by you. Location number, which is required, is the lookup code for this location. While it is strongly suggested that you make this number a unique number, you are allowed to use the same number for different locations, but only the first one entered will be selected as the default location for that number. You can use any alphanumeric in this field. Next to this field is the accounting ID number, which is used for the accounting interface to send the vendor number for this location. When entering this alphanumeric number, make sure to include the same exact formatting that the accounting system has. Copy and pasting from the accounting system would be the best way to make sure they match. If they do not match, you will get an error during the import of the data to the accounting system. The IPF switch is used to assign this location as an inter-parish fund location. It changes nothing about this location, other than on some reports, it will show up when checked on. If you would like to use it for another type of designation, feel free to use it for other purposes to designate this location on reports. Location name is the only other required field in order to save this record. Please enter the proper name for this location. If it is known by another name for mailing to a specific building, then use the next field called Alternate Name. An example of how these two fields work is that if the organization name is St. Joseph Church, but the mail is going to the parish hall, Then put St. Joseph Parish Hall in the alternate name, and that is the name that will be used in the postal address. Not all locations are the same, so there is a location type field drop-down that may be seen. If a list of location types has been entered, the field drop-down will be seen for you to select the type of location that this location is. If seen, it could also be required to be selected before you save the record as well. You must select the type, as it must be in the list to be used. Location types can be filtered in reports in order to show only certain location types in the reports. Family group is another classification of location that you can select from if a list of family groups has been entered into the drop-down list. Family groups are for when the finance committee belongs to a group of other locations. If the field isn't seen, then your diocese is not using this field. Family groups can be filtered in reports in order to show only certain groups in the reports. Some dioceses make assign a deanery code for which section they are located within the diocese's area. You can enter any combination of characters in this field, as there is no drop-down list to select from. So make sure if you are wanting to connect them in the report filter to use the same value as other locations. Solution set is a short code that you can use to assign this location to. There is no drop-down to select from on this field, so you can it for most anything. But the solution type has a set drop-down list from which to select a value from. If the list has been created, you will see this field to select from. While named for how the diocese that designed this area uses it, you can use them for most any reason that you would like. These fields are included and used in some reports but do not affect how the data is managed. The red freeze accounts or location closed switch is used to block the entry of any data into the accounts under this location. When checked, all the account and transaction forms are read only, so no data can be changed in them. Moving on to the next tab, which is the physical address of the location. There are 3 fields that you can fill in if you need them. Only the fields that are filled in will be in the address block that is printed on letters and statements. The last row of fields is for the city, state, and zip code of the location. If the location is in another country, check the foreign box to change the zip code to allow alphanumeric character rather than just numbers. This address is the physical address, but if you send the mail to a different location, then the next tab is where you will enter this information. Just like the alternate name on the first tab, when you enter information into the first address line of the mail to address, this address will be used in the address block on statements and letters. The last row of fields is for the city, state, and zip code of the location. If the location is in another country, check the foreign box to change the zip code to allow alphanumeric character rather than just numbers. The next tab is the Contact tab, which holds information about how to contact the location. The 2 email fields can hold up to 100 characters of several email addresses. After entering the first address into either field, you can add more to that field by putting a semicolon between the addresses up until you reach 100 characters. Depending on the length of each email address, you should be able to get about 5 addresses into each field, but they will all be sent together. You can't remove any from the emails being sent out. The verified switch is used to turn on the email functionality for this location to get emails. It is here for you to be able to send an email to them, asking them to respond so that when they do, you can check the box to start using them. If you want to skip this verification email, simply check this box and the email will start being used. You can use the 2 buttons in front of the fields to trigger a new email form within your system's default email program, using the addresses in the field that you clicked on. This is handy to quickly find and use the email addresses to send information about their accounts to them. The phone and fax numbers are for reference only and are not used anywhere in the system. But the contact field is used in the address block for letters and statements. When you enter a name in this field, the line "Attention to" will be added below the name and above the address lines. In the next field called Letter Salutation, you will add what you would want in the salutation line of a letter after the word "Dear." Comments about this location should be entered into the last tab. Here you can put information that is not available in a field. One other field that is in the location record is the credit limit that this location has. This is the total balance of all the loans that the location is allowed to borrow. It is only seen if your dioceses set up the option to limit credit. If it is 0, then there is no limit on how much this location can borrow. Once a location has hit the limit, the user will need to go into the location record to increase this field to allow more funds to be borrowed. When you are in edit mode for this form, you will also see the default accounts at the bottom of the form for the account types that the location has that are currently open. Using the drop-down list, you will find the currently open accounts for this location for you to select to be the default account to be shown when you go to this location in the Accounts tab. If none are selected, then the first account opened will be selected to view first even if it is closed. If there are documents that have been added to the location record, the number of documents and files will show up next to the Document button. If you click on the Documents button, you will be given a form that allows you to preview each document that are in the record by using the arrow button in the top right. If there are no documents, or you click on the Attachments button between the arrow buttons, you will be taken to this form where you can add more documents, remove the highlighted document, open the document in the associated application, or save the highlighted or all the documents to a location on your hard drive. Clicking on the Add button, you will get an Explorer screen to search and select the file that you want to bring into the data for the location. If you highlight any document in the list to the left, you will turn on the other buttons to remove them from the location record, or click on the Open button to open the document in the associated program on your workstation. If you edit the document while it is temporarily on your computer, you will be asked if you want to save the updates to the record in DLS. If you don't, then the record in DLS will not contain the changes that you made. The other two buttons are to make a copy of the documents on your computer and let the originals remain in the record. If you later open those copies and make changes, they will not be updated to the location record but only in your workstation. None of the changes will be official until you click on the OK button of this form. Doing so will complete the addition, removal, and edits that you may have done to the documents in the actual location record. If you decide to not save all those changes, click on the Cancel button. Back at the document form, you can click on the Close button to exit the form and go back to the location record. When you are finished working in the location, you can click on the Save button in order to save all the changes that you made in the record. If you have not checked the verified switch on any email field that has value, the question to send a confirmation email will pop up. If you want to send out the confirmation emails, click on Yes, otherwise click on No to skip sending the confirmation emails, and then finish exiting the form. The Close Cancel button is used to exit the form without saving the record. Any changes to attached documents will have already been saved when you exited the Attached Documents form. Along the right side of the location list, there are 3 functions that can be done to deal with different issues. The top one is the listing report or file. When you click on this button, you will be asked if you want to export the data to Excel instead of printing the report. If you click Yes, then the records will be exported to an Excel called DLS_locations.xlsx in your local DLS Financials folder. With this file, you can use it to make mass changes to location records that DLS Financials support can import back into DLS to make the changes that you need, or for mail merging information into a Word document. A nice little feature is the ability to print the highlighted location's address on an envelope by the simple clicking of the next button, named Envelope. While the preview of the envelope may not look like an envelope, when you change the printer to print on an envelope, it should be in the correct position when printed. The last button is only seen when you have DLSOnline, because you use this button to get into the list of users that have access to the currently highlighted location. When you click on it, the form will come up showing all the DLSOnline users for the current location shown in the top right field. While this field has a drop-down, it is disabled at this point because the form is set for just this one location. If your list is large, you can filter the list down to a smaller size by entering a few characters of the person's first or last name in the Find field up in the top left corner of the form. The list will only show the users that have the series of characters in one of the Name fields or Location ID. Once you see the user that you want to work on, click on their record in the user list on the left side of the form. Once highlighted, you will see the list of locations that they have permission to enter on the list shown onto the right of the user list. While the user list only shows users in the current location, the list of locations on the right is not filtered to just this one location. When you select a user in the list, you will also have all the buttons turn on that are for current users. This includes the red Delete button if you have permission to delete records. The Delete button will delete the user record out the entire system, which includes all the locations in their list. If you are wanting to only remove them from this location, then you will need to edit the user's record by double-clicking on the user's name or clicking on the Edit button. While the Edit button opens the form with the current user information filled in, the Add button is used when you want to add a new DLSOnline user record into the system, which once the information is entered for the user, will automatically add the current location into its allowed locations list. The user's ID needs to be unique to your diocese, so if you enter a user ID that is already in your data, the system will tell you that it is already in use and ask you if you want to edit that current user record or enter a new user ID. Once a unique ID has been entered, then you will be able to move out of the field and into the first and last name fields for the user. Do not assign a user ID to a general user as a name. Doing so will require them to change their name when they first log into DLSOnline, since every user needs to be for an individual and not for a group of users. When you enter their initial password, make it something simple for them to enter, but not too simple for someone to guess. Do not email passwords to new users, as this is a breach of security protocols. Either send a letter or call them with the logon information. The next option to the right of the password is to force the user to change the password the next time they log into DLSOnline. Check this so that they can enter a password that they know and is more secure than the simple one that you give them. The user's email address is a required field because it is used by the Forgot Password function that allows them to get in if they can't remember their password. It is also used by certain functions within DLS to email the users about transaction requests and other processes. Block all online access is used to suspend a user's access to DLSOnline for any reason. The most common reason is if a user has not logged in for the period of time that you require between logins. This is found in the Maintenance tab on the main menu under Management Functions. DLS Financials System Configuration under the DLSOnline tab. In this example, if a user has not logged in for more than 3 months, then the user's Block All Access switch will be automatically checked and they will be prompted to contact the diocese to get access again. A master user means that you are giving them access to all the locations without having to actually put every location into their allowed list, which is shown below this field. When checked, all locations will be removed from the list below because they are not needed. But if a user is not going to be a master user, then you will need to move the locations that this user will be allowed into the allowed list below the user information. You do this by double-clicking on any location in the master location list on the right side of the form. Doing so will move it to the allowed list. The same is true if you want to remove a location from the allowed list. Simply double-click on the location in the allowed list, and it will be removed and returned to the master list. The master list can be large, so use the Find field above the master list to enter a series of characters that would be in the location that you are looking for. This could be in the name, address, city, or the location lookup number. Once you have all the information correct for this user, then click on the Save button at the bottom of the master list to save the data as seen. If you want to cancel and exit the form, then click on the Close Cancel button to exit the form without saving. Back on the DLS online user list, there is one more button that you can use to print introduction letters to one or more user. Normally, the user letter button will automatically print the letters for all the users in the system. But if you only want one, then highlight that user and click on the button. If you selected a user, then the system will ask you if you want to print the letters for everyone, so you can answer yes if you want to do all users, but no to confirm you only want the one highlighted user's letter. If this is the first time that you have printed these letters, the system will bring up this form where you will need to enter the web name for your DLSOnline. The first part of the address is https://www.dlsonline.us/, but you will need to enter the location web name that you were given by DLS Financials Support. Once you have entered this information, it will be saved and you will never need to enter it again. If you made a mistake, please contact DLS Financial Support to have it fixed. Once the preview of the report comes up, you will be able to use the keyboard command of Control-P to enter the printer control form to provide you the ability to print only certain pages, as well as other printer controls. There is one more thing that diocese using the DLSOnline Plus module needs to do, is set the permissions that the user has with regards to transaction requests. Master users cannot make transaction requests, but for users that have access to individual locations, you will need to set the permissions the user has to make transaction requests. Default is to not give a user any rights to make or approve transaction requests. So only the locations that you want to give the user permission to make or approve transaction request needs to be set. You do this by double-clicking on the location that you want to work in for this user. This will bring up the Edit User's Transaction Permission form. The top field named Allow Transactions is for information only. It just tells you right away if the user has any transaction request checked below. The first option that you can check is to allow the user to provide local approval of a transaction request. If you are going to require local approval with any transaction type or purpose, then you will need at least one user to have the ability to provide that approval. This is normally the priest or the chairperson of the finance committee. Next is the ability to request deposit withdrawals from any deposit account. With this checked, the user can enter a request for deposit withdrawals from any account within their location that has a balance. Loans has the same option to request loan draws from any loan account with available funds to draw from. With this checked, the user will have access to the form that they can fill in to request the funds. Transfers are probably the most used option where you can give the user permission to send money from one deposit account to another account. The first option will give permission for the user to enter the form to request funds from the selected deposit account to another deposit account that the user selects. The form is actually a withdraw form that includes a field to select where the funds will be deposited into. Just like the transfer to a deposit account, you can allow a user to access the form to withdraw funds from a deposit account into a loan account as a payment. Depending on the loan type, the process will make the withdrawal from the deposit principal to the loan interest required payment before the remainder is paid to principal. By default, you are applying these rights only to the one location that you selected from the user's location permission list. But to make it convenient for you, if you click on the blue button showing, quote, apply to only this user's highlighted location, end quote, it will change to show apply to all users' locations. Whichever instructions is showing on the button when you click on the Save button, that is where the rights will be applied to. If you decide not to save the changes, then click on the Close/Cancel button on the bottom right of the form to close the form without saving. Once you are done working in the DLS Online Users list, click on the Close button to return to the Locations tab. Thank you for watching. If you need to get more detailed training or still have questions about managing your locations in DLS Financials, please contact DLS Support at 217-697-0105 extension 5 or email support@dlsfinancials.com.